everybody. Hi, Julianne. How are you today? All right. I know. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Rhonda. I have Jim on with me today, but we're going to mostly read the rest of this chapter in Is Elvis Alive? And then we're going to cover half of the Elvis tape. Now, I had covered the Elvis tape in a prior live video, maybe last year sometime. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was the summer or spring. So we're going to cover it and from the book, this bookend. So we're going to cover it that way. So I have Jim on with me today. I think it's because he wanted to come on. He had such a good time Wednesday night. I think there was one question someone asked Jim. And I think it was what your thoughts were on I can't remember his name, but it was the captain. I think
Oh
we had
no, the not captain.
no. Anyway,
Trying to think, I can't remember what it was. It was
yeah, it was some
I,
not the captain, but somebody like that.
oh,
Anyway,
I keep wanting to call him Colonel, but it wasn't Colonel. It was Major. Major, that was it.
oh, the major, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think someone asked me asked what your thoughts were about the major, yeah, and that was the past video.
And it's like I
Let
told him.
me
I don't
let
I don't
me
know anything. I don't know anything about the Major himself. Never talked to the man, but I do know him and Elvis Presley was friends.
yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I have it in here. But there was another question that someone asked before we get going here. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure who this Denon Amp is. So he just asked your thoughts on the major. So you really don't know. We saw some kind of post the other day. Someone had posted a like a record company, a record cover. It had like a picture of maybe looked like Elvis's face from like the 1984 was it picture that was taken of him with a Muhammad Ali, but with his eyes open, and it said Elvis and the Major on it, and it was for sale on what's it called, Discogs, but I don't think it's for sale anymore. I think someone bought it, and so I would have been dying to just check that out. So maybe we'll look into, maybe I'll look this up, and maybe there'll be some recordings of Elvis and the Major on YouTube. That would be kind of interesting to hear. All right. So I'm going to say hi to everybody, and then we're going to start in with our reading because there's a lot here in this book and a lot on that tape, and we've got time. I don't want to be on for 2 whole hours like last time, but that was fun. I hope everyone enjoyed that video. It was really off the cuff, and we actually had a good time. I liked it a lot. I was tired the next day, though. All right. So, Julianne, hi. And of course, they said Sandy, hi. And Rhonda, hi. And Chanel, hi. Welcome back. I think you've been on a couple of times. And Rita, hi, Rita. How are you? And Jimmy. And she says, hi there again. Hi there, Jim. Rhonda says. Rita says, I'm glad. Just noticed you're all on. Yeah. Hi, Francis. And she's saying, hi, James. Hi, Jim. All right. Last time was a great time. Yes, definitely. All right. So you keep missing me on live. Well, I think Wednesday we came on and unannounced, and I came on at like 10 o'clock at night because there was something I had to do, and it was Elvis's birthday, and Jim wanted to get his mind off what was going on at home. So, but he's got that all ironed out now, and he's doing much better. So, but he wanted to join me again. I guess he enjoys being on live with us. So, he just says hi, and Jermaine, hi Jermaine, how are you? All right. So without further ado, I guess I better dive into this reading because if not, oh hi Norma, I'll say hi Norma. Happy New Year to you too. I hope your New Year was good. Yes, I have the Elvis book Alive and the tape. Yeah. Now this book is more available, so you guys can get it anytime on any platform. I think eBay had a lot. I don't know if it still does. But it's more popular. A lot of times people don't have the tapes with their books, but I actually got one that was like never been opened before, but I opened it because I wanted to read it, and so I've been using it. And so we're gonna pick up where we left off last Saturday. Glad things are better, Jim. Francis is saying glad things are better. Yes.
Thank you.
Lots of prayer and God answered. All right. Did he? He answered it quickly too, didn't he, Jim? It was like only 2 days or so, and it was
Yeah,
done.
he sure did. He sure did. And it was a pretty serious situation too.
Yeah. Yeah. So God's in control and he knows. All right. So I'm gonna turn my lamp up here a little bit so I can read better. All right. That's too bright. I'm sorry. Okay. So she asked, is Elvis Presley alive? So two important pieces of evidence that present a possibility of Elvis Presley being alive deserve attention. Both have been mentioned earlier. One is a videotape of a segment aired on Los Angeles KCOP's January 8, 1986, 10 o'clock p.m. news. It features a story of a possible picture of Elvis Presley taken 4 months after his death. The second is a taped conversation, supposedly around 1981. Because I think the contents are important for evaluation, I am transcribing them in their entirety. My regret is that you, the reader, cannot personally view the picture as shown on KCOP program. As for the mystery tape, the results from a voice print expert were returned on December 15th, 1987. Although the quality of the mystery tape is poor, it appears that it is Elvis Presley. The voice identification report, as well as the analysis, will follow the transcription. All right. So not long before he died, in parentheses, she had it, he said, the image is one thing, the human being another. It's very hard to live up to an image. And toward the end, many heard him say, I feel intensely lonely at heart. And now the end is near. He both read and sang before the grand finale. I'll do it my way. Perhaps in the end he did. I'm going to just take these off for a minute. Yeah. Okay. So Tim Mallory, co-anchor of Wendy Rutledge. The title of the news segment was Long Live the King. The transcription begins with Tim Malloy speaking. Well, now here's a story about Elvis that probably belongs in the Twilight Zone, or more appropriately, the Night Gallery, because it is about a picture taken after the king's death, one that has made people wonder if Elvis has left this world or at all. So Bob Welsh has more on this mystery story. Now, Mike Joseph is the one that took that photograph at Graceland when he was taking pictures of the graves, and in the pool house is the image of Elvis's face. Of course, it's blown up. So I do have plenty of, I think, pictures of that on a prior video about the pictures taken of him after 1977. You guys can check that out. I might have featured it a couple of times. I think maybe the last time it was on live. I don't remember. But anyway, it was then. So if you guys want to see that, that's where it's going to be. All right. So Mike Joseph took his family to Graceland for a vacation on January 1st, 1978. More than 4 months after the death of Elvis Presley, perhaps we should say reported death. At the time, the grounds of Graceland were the only part of the estate open to the public. But Joseph took some snapshots and put them away for safekeeping. 4 years later, while reading about Presley, Joseph took out his mementos of his Graceland visit and he noticed something unusual in a shot of the bathhouse behind the mansion. It was a shadow in the lower half of the door. Joseph says he had the pictures enlarged, and the results were nothing short of startling. Someone or something bearing a remarkable resemblance to Elvis Presley was indeed sitting behind the door. Playboy magazine bought the temporary rights to the pictures for an undisclosed amount of money, but never published them. Joseph says Playboy and other publications who bid on the pictures weren't sure of just exactly how to handle the story. They thought it was the most amazing photograph they've ever seen. Everybody, they didn't know what to think, how to present it. I just told them just present it as a photograph that was taken 4 months after he died. So back to Bob Walsh. The picture in question is part of a set. All the negatives are intact, and the spokesperson for Playboy confirms that the pictures were not doctored. The sequence of the pictures, including the shots of Elvis's grave, confirms that the pictures were indeed taken after Presley's death. Joseph said he's not trying to convince anyone that Elvis still lives or that I thought we lost Jim somewhere. I'm sure he'll be back on soon. All right. How it got there and what it will no doubt remain as much of as a mystery as the entire Presley mystique. The mystery tape was presented to me in front of several witnesses. Mary Beth Danielski, Tom and Carolyn Brewer. The two women who came to my home refused to tell me their identity. Okay. But one did say she was married to a member of the Presley family, and the tape was presented as Elvis, although it was not made clear to me that the tape had been altered, meaning that whoever Elvis was talking to cut their voice out. I was told to get a voice print done, that it would prove their story. They contacted me because they knew what had happened to my novel, Orion, and they believed the novel was stopped because I had come too close to the truth. They spent several hours here, and although cautious, they began to open up. After the women left, a discussion was held and notes matched. The end result was I believed there was enough to their story to have a voice print done. So, and she said, let's see, she had put a note here about the picture, but I'll go over that later, I guess. So she said, I contacted voice print expert L.H. Williams of Houston, Texas. He took the known voice of Elvis Presley and through analysis indicated in his conclusion that the unknown speaker on the mystery tape and the known speaker of Elvis Presley are the same. However, I want to make it clear that I have no idea when this recording, supposedly over the telephone, was made. Mr. Williams also stated that the entire cassette was not made at one sitting, and it was instead the result of more than one recording. This could have been done in many ways. So number one, she said, if Elvis had telephoned someone on various occasions and unknowingly been recorded, that person may have put the majority of the recordings on one cassette, deliberately leaving their voice and identity off. Number two, I was told the reason the person Elvis is supposedly talking to wants their identity unknown is for fear of being involved in a death hoax. Number three, the tape could have been spliced together by taking dialogue from various films and creating a story whereby people think he hoaxed his death. And number four, it is a splicing from other interviews. So those would be the options that he looked at. So she said she thought of the possibility, but when she listened to the tape and read the dialogue, there were too many instances when Elvis, in parentheses, refers to be in hiding, growing a beard, to have friends feared he would be found out. I have chosen to include the tape transcription here, as well as a voice identification report. She said, you be the judge. Okay, so the note about the picture, she just basically said, I, along with countless others, have viewed the picture. If it is Elvis, his face is full, which makes sense since it was taken only 4 months after his death. He may not have lost a great deal of weight. The fact that someone is looking out the door is quite clear. I can make out eyeglasses, non-tilted, tinted, or slightly tinted. I can see his eyes. It is a remarkable picture and surely justifies the question asked by fans and by media at large and by me. All right. I wish I could have maybe given you guys a look at that picture, but I don't have it ready. But in the meantime, I'm going to put on the Elvis tape. So we're going to listen just the first side of the Elvis tape. And then there will be some discussions in between because Gail and another man, I'm not quite sure who the other man is, asking her questions. Okay, so we're going to turn on the Elvis tape. All right. And I might stop it in between if you want, Jim. If you need me to stop it, just do this or something, and I'll stop it and we can talk. All right. So this is the first half. It will begin with people ask me all the time, where I've been living. All right.
Or
audio.
Strictly audio.
Yeah, audio. I was told right up front that the tape had been doctored. The person that the voice is talking to has cut their voice out deliberately. The voice on the tape had been talking on the telephone to someone who was recording. The women who had given me the tape really didn't want to say too much. There are other reasons for that. Their identity, their personal involvement with Elvis Presley, and also they believed that Elvis Presley, or more than believed, they told me he was alive and that they understood why the things happened to my book that did. I was told to get a voice print. Well, the voice print expert was in Texas, had some association with the Watergate tapes, etc. And they compared it with known interviews with Elvis Presley. The voice print came back December 15th of 87, and it came back as positive.
Positive meaning?
Meaning that the voice on the mystery tape and that of the known element being Elvis Presley, with a reasonable assurance, was one and the same. What they were unable to ascertain is when it was actually done.
In other words, there's nothing, at least as far as what you've heard on this tape, that would absolutely prove that it was made after August 16th, 1977.
There's nothing in the sense that when you're talking to someone on the phone, you say, hello, so-and-so, today is January 8th, 19 such and such, and I'm talking to you. No. In fact, if it were on the tape, I'd be very suspicious. But by the context of the tape, I believe it was done after August 16th, 1977, because of what he says.
What we have here then with your book and this tape, actually both of your books, but certainly the novel Orion, we have a situation perhaps, are you saying that this is sort of life imitating art or vice versa?
Exactly. So many of the things that I wrote in Orion began to come true after the fact, and I believe I was penalized for it.
Well, I'm dying to hear this tape, so let's play some of this tape right now.
Okay.
People ask me all the time where I'm living, and naturally I can't say, but it's a good place to hide. It actually started when I arrived in Hawaii. I made arrangements with a friend of mine to fly me out of the state. You know, it was really something because everything worked just like it was meant to be. I mean, there was an island that I had learned about a long time ago, and I guess I always knew that someday I'd probably have to use it. Anyway, I really can't say that I didn't need the rest. Slowly, I started getting myself in shape. I didn't sing much. I had needed the rest even more than I knew. But after about a year, I started missing the people and the entertaining. I mean, I've been entertaining people in the better part of my life, and it's very hard to stop from doing something that you've been doing that long. But I started traveling all over the world, and it's been enjoyable, but it's been a constant battle of growing beards and this and that to keep from being recognized. And I guess about 2 years ago, I went to Europe, which is something I've always wanted to do, something I wanted to do for a long time. I mean, I've always been sorry that I didn't go to Europe before, but I could have. I guess I just didn't take the time. Anyway, the first place that I wanted to see in Germany was a place called Wiesbaden. I don't know whether or not you've ever seen Wiesbaden before, but my girlfriend was with me, and we went to a place to get something to eat. And a waitress asked me what we'd like to have. And I said, I don't know really. What would you suggest? And she stood still. She just kept staring at me, and I started getting very nervous. At the time, I had a beard and I lost a few pounds, and I thought it would be very, very hard for anyone to recognize me. And then she asked me if I'd ever been to Germany in the past. And then I got more nervous. But she said, you know, I never forget a face. And then she said, I don't know how you did it. She said, I don't care how you did it. She said, I just hope that you're as happy as you made me tonight.
All right, so That is pretty interesting. I'm gonna say it is dated after 1977 because he just does say that he arranged with a friend to leave the States. Now in his book, I want to do the tie-in to this book. He said he had, was it Herb Wolf had the means to help him get whatever he needed to get traveling. So it's probably a good friend of his, probably Herb Wolf. He also mentioned I can't remember his name, but in his book. So I think someone asked me what year this tape was. I think it's Diana Smith. Supposedly around 1981, could have been around 82, somewhere in that area. All right, that's what they said here in the book. I know you joined late, so but anyway, Jim, does that sound like Elvis's voice too? Since you hear him on the phone sometimes.
That's Elvis's voice all the way. That's Elvis.
Is it?
And that tape, and yeah, that tape was done after '77. Hell, he talking about going to an island, talking about going to Germany, and that woman talking to him.
Yeah. And I think that I also think that it's kind of interesting that he did say something about that. He always wanted to go to the travel around the world, and he couldn't. He didn't take the time. We know that there were other reasons why he didn't travel around the world and go on a world tour. So for him to be able to go traveling around the world, that was something he really wanted to do. Another thing that I thought was interesting when he said, but after about a year, I started missing the people and entertaining. I mean, I've been entertaining people for the better part of my life, and it's very hard to stop doing something that you've been doing that long. Now, I know for a fact that we talked about in here and in a couple other places where actually Jesse Elvis admitted that he had done some songs for Orion, and Orion came out, the actual singer came out in 1979. So it fits the time schedule where he could entertain people still, hiding behind a front, someone to be a front singer. Of course, Jimmy Ellis had a great voice of his own that he could actually get away with it because they sounded a lot alike. So they could get away with it. Okay. So we just remember the context and what he's saying there. He continued to entertain people after 1977 just behind the scenes so he wouldn't get recognized. And he will talk about that some more in the tape. And I thought this conversation here about the restaurant and how he didn't wear any much disguise, it's just his beard and his voice kind of gave him away. you know
Well, Joey. Remember him talking about him joining or entering an ETA contest after he left.
yeah.
Yeah, and according to him, he got beat. He come in second place. So just imagine that.
Yeah, he entered a contest as an Elvis impersonator and got second place. I think he told Linda that on her site. I don't know when he did it though, but to get second place and be the real Elvis, that's something else.
Yeah.
The other guy must have been really, really, really good.
You know what I say about that? Them judges need to go get their ears checked because something wrong in their head.
Well, either that or they really knew it was him and they didn't want him to have.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they were just trying to throw it off. Or who knows?
Hell, he knowing him, he might have paid them to judge him second.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just to keep his identity safe.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to do a little. We'll do a little bit more, but I thought I'd stop here for a minute so we could just chat about a couple of things, and then I will. When we're done with this portion of the tape, I'm going to stop it. And we'll do the second half next week, and then I'll address all these comments and questions and everything after. Okay, like I usually do. All right, so we're going to continue, and we might hear some commentary in between. I don't know, the guy's voice sounds to me like, is it Bill Bixby or that other dude that does the radio? Who I'm thinking of. I don't know, the DJ of some type. I don't know, he reminds me of Bill Bixby, but I could be wrong, the voice, I mean, but.
You know, that's the type of experience that I'll never forget. And there's been a lot of times I would like to have changed some things, but I've learned that once something is done, you can't look back. I mean, sometimes it's not good to look back. And I think you know that she means as much to me as life itself. And hopefully, the good Lord willing, sometime, fate will be kind to us and I'll see her again.
Now, in that portion of the tape,
I thought that was kind of interesting when he's talking about she. I think this one, I think he's talking about Lisa Marie here, I believe. Anyway, so we'll see. That's what I'm thinking it is. But anyway,
as far as enjoying life now, you know, I can go to football games and to the movies, but what interests me most is seeing people in a way that I hadn't before. I mean, I've talked to people that might have been sick and that I thought I could help in some way. And for me, that has to be the best part of life. As far as she is concerned, or any part of my family, I really don't think it's a good idea right now. I mean, there's no hard feelings or anything, but she's always wanted her own life, and it makes me happy just to see that she's all right.
now that is Priscilla. That's what they were saying. It was Priscilla he was talking about. It doesn't say who it is because obviously they cut the tape off, or, you know, the question could have been like, do you think you'll ever get back together with Priscilla or whatever? But I think the thing is that she's always wanted her own life. And it makes me happy just to see that she's all right. So you know that he's not talking about Lisa Marie there, you know. So I was letting you know, I think I might have cut off some of Gail's commentary, so that's why I thought I'd tell you what she thought it was.
You know, a lot of times people walk up to me and they say that they're concerned about people finding out. And then they think about it for a while, and they usually say that nobody believes them anyway.
now in what we've just heard there,
Right.
he's referring to another she. I'm assuming it's a different person because he's talking about no hard feelings. Who do you suppose that she is?
I would think he could be talking about Priscilla.
Do you have any idea where he could go to football games or be in large crowds, or going to movies and so on, and not be recognized?
He probably, under normal circumstances, would have been recognized, but with the fact nobody would be looking for him since he no longer exists, he would have a new identity. He says at different points he's growing beards and wearing sunglasses. He probably isn't as heavy as he once was. I have been told that he has a code name. This person has been recognized, and they said, well, he looks like an older Elvis Presley. Well, he would be an older Elvis Presley because he'd be 53 and not 42.
Have you ever imagined what he would look like as far as his color of his hair?
His hair had turned prematurely gray like his father's. If you had seen Vernon, His hair was a whitish gray. Also, I understand his mother's hair had turned prematurely gray too, and she dyed it. Elvis was known to dye his hair.
I don't know. In the first place, it would be foolish to walk back into a lifestyle that I just escaped from. But I'm going to continue my music and give people as much of what they want as I can. I've had people write letters to me that have been just fantastic. It's nice to know that there are people that are truly concerned about you. And when you have friends like this, and when people care about you that much, I mean, you have to do something. And there's a lot of things I would like to do, and there's a lot of music that I would like to attempt.
Now, on that particular portion of the tape, he's talking about how foolish it would be for him to walk back into a lifestyle that he worked so hard to escape from.
That's a key phrase as far as I'm concerned. It explains why he did what he wanted to do. He left his lifestyle. He didn't just simply go into hiding. He said, I escaped from it. He does talk about still wanting to give people music.
How do you think he would be able to do that?
Well, we have a lot of speculation. Without going through my whole book, there has been speculation as to using a cover, coming out under another name. He would have to come out under another name. And the reason being is that if he didn't, he would be forced to do the same old music or music that had been copyrighted pre-1977, which really would have boxed him in. By coming out under perhaps another name, he would cause a lot of controversy, certainly.
He might even be perceived as an Elvis imitator.
That's true. That's true. One of the things about an Elvis imitator, though, in order to imitate, they need the lights and the costumes and the razzmatazz. They don't record because they don't record like Elvis Presley. And a lot of them even lip sync to Elvis music. If he is going to do other albums, other material, he would have to come out under another name. He would also have to use that name and be able to disappear whenever he wanted. One thing, a mysterious singer, Orion, also came into view about the same time my book did, and also disappeared, by the way, the same time the book did. Many people have questioned who's on the album, but we can't see a face that's recording, and so they can put any face or any name on. And that is the question that I delve into in my book, and I think I've come up with some pretty good answers.
Now, I was intrigued also the fact that this voice that's purported to be Elvis Presley's is saying that people are concerned about him and are writing letters to him. Does that suggest that there are other people in on this secret?
Graceland, number one, is receiving a tremendous amount of letters. Elvis Presley is making more money now, in quote, death, than he did in life. But there is a legion of fans, a legion of legitimate media out there. Not that we're not, but I'm talking about 2020. They actually did a whole hour on the cover-up of the death of Elvis Presley. But the fans, there are just legions of fans who believe, one, that he's alive, or two, that there's a major cover-up. If there's a major cover-up, then the question is why a major cover-up. So yes, many, many letters are coming to Graceland.
As far as the dating is concerned, I still date. I'm dating a young lady right now that has been very helpful to me as far as keeping my sanity, and she's been good for me. When we first met, she kept telling me how much she liked my music. She kind of looked at me in shock when we first met, like most people, but she was glad I was still here, and one thing led to another, and now she goes with me just about every place I go. I mean, it's nice. I have a lot of time on my hands now, and I'm getting back into sports a lot. I'm still working out and playing racquetball and karate whenever I get a chance. It's helped me to stay in shape, and the clean living surely can't hurt.
Now, he mentioned in the portion we just heard a young lady friend. Now, assuming that Elvis is now in his early 50s, how young would a young lady be?
Elvis had a wonderful way of speaking about women as young ladies. I thought it was interesting, too, that he says that she kind of looked at me in shock when we first met, like most people, but she was glad I was still here. Again, to me, that dates it as after August 16, 1977. Why would, prior to that, anyone say, gee, I'm glad you're still here, and I'm shocked to see that you are? Basically, that's what he is saying.
Now, I notice he also referred to playing racquetball and getting into karate. Again, he stresses clean living. How can we square a remark like that against all of these allegations about drug abuse that have seemed to dog his life and certainly his death? How do you square those two?
The next part of the tape we're going to hear, he talks about that. I have read many biographies on him. I think the drug problem, if it was a problem, was overstated. In 1970, Elvis was appointed by Richard Nixon as an agent of the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. And in many biographies, which people overlooked, it is stated that Elvis pretended to be whacked out. I think he pretended to do this so he could listen in on conversations about him. We must also take into consideration that when they talk about the, quote, drug abuse, they're talking about prescribed drugs for medical reasons. Because autopsy remains had been destroyed according to 2020 and some of the other biographies, I believe it was overstated also. If we want to listen to the next part of the tape, he talks about that.
All right, I'm curious. I'd like to hear this.
You know, that's one thing that has always gotten to me. I mean, there's a lot of people that are making a lot of money off the drug thing, and that's what makes them happy, and that's fine. But it's not true. And the fact of the matter is that I haven't even taken a sleeping pill in 3 years. If I had the chance to do everything again, I'd probably make the same mistakes. But you grow attached to people, and you grow attached to people that are with you, and your life a lot of times becomes more important to people than you even realize. Yourself sometimes, you know, you try to have as many people as you can, and sometimes you try to please someone, and sometimes you can't please anybody, you know. A lot of times I felt the image hurt me, but I always knew there'd be a price I'd have to pay. You know, there's a lot of people that are lonely. I mean, you don't have to be on the poor side of life to be lonely. You don't have to be rich to be lonely. You can be standing in a group of 100 people and you can be lonely. Strange thing, you know. Lately, I've been trying to write music, which is something I've always wanted to do. I just never took the time, and I'm trying to play the guitar gotten better. I still play the piano. I've spent most of my time getting myself back into shape. And it's not easy to get everything done at the same time. And there's been a lot of things that have happened. I've got to be very careful. I mean, I met a young lady in a supermarket once, and she kept following me. And finally she said, "I almost can't believe it, but I think I know who you are." And I said, "Honey, if you don't tell anybody," I said, "I won't." And right then and there in the supermarket, she started crying. And I said, "Honey, don't you cry." And the tears just started falling down her face. And she put her arms around me. And she said, "I feel I know what you've been through." And she said, "I'll always love you." And you know, things like that are experiences that you just can't buy. It's very hard to forget anything like that. But things like that have been happening to me a lot.
Well, it's obvious he's incensed by the references to drug abuse. What sort of illnesses did he take drugs for?
He had glaucoma, so he took drugs for that. He had colon problems. A lot of the biographies state a lot of medical problems that he did have. I think he had a high blood pressure, but he had a high energy level, Elvis Presley did. And I just find it very hard that a man could have stood on his feet and did the grueling performances he did that last year and be a drug addict. I just do not believe it. I don't think it's physically possible.
Interestingly, he mentioned that he had not taken a sleeping pill in 3
3
years.
years, yeah.
Now, assuming that this tape was made in 1981 or 1980, that would take it back to approximately 1977.
That's right.
When he had taken his last sleeping pill. He refers also about a young woman in the supermarket. Now, in your book, Orion, near the end of you refer to Orion being recognized and telling someone, "If you don't say anything about it, I won't."
Yeah,
and here again we have
it's
life
amazing
imitating
how,
art.
Yeah, really is. He does talk about meeting this woman, and I find too that when she said, "I almost can't believe it, but I know who you are," again, when he says, "Honey, if you don't tell anybody, I won't," I find it very hard to believe that pre-1977 he would have taken the chance of walking around supermarkets, etc. I think he felt free to do it after 77 because, frankly, people weren't looking for him. He was supposedly dead.
One of the things that struck me, too, as we listened to these clips of this tape is how these people who he claims to have seen him, how can they keep this a secret? Why isn't this out? Why aren't people running around whispering?
Actually, it is out. That's the strange part about it. Merle Haggard made a comment in People magazine about he feeling that Elvis Presley was alive. People have reported seeing him. But let's face it, Jeff, if you were sitting on an airplane next to someone who looked like Elvis Presley, you might look at him and say, you know, he looks like Elvis Presley or an older Elvis Presley. And even if he told you he was, you probably wouldn't believe him, number one. Number two, if you did believe him, there's very few people who believe you.
That's right.
So I think that was his cover also, is that people just simply aren't going to believe it.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, and I think that's the end of that side, I believe. I thought this was interesting how he said that he was trying to write his own music. He never said that he could. I mean, in the Elvis Found Alive, he said that he never wrote his own music. But it's a possibility he might have wrote one of those songs, I'm thinking. Or maybe one of the songs on spelling on the stone. We don't know. We will be covering that probably next week when we come back. And of course, the young lady that he met in the grocery store. It's a very similar story to Pepper Ritter, but Pepper Ritter's was in 1988. And this one was before that. But they're very similar in ways. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to open the floor now for some discussions and some greetings and
Joy,
everything. Yeah?
Joy. Remember
Yeah?
Pepper telling us when we did that? We was talking to her on video chat when she was talking about me. She told her, you ought to write a book, but ain't nobody gonna believe you. Just like you said, there ain't nobody gonna believe you.
Right. You could go tell somebody and they're not going to believe you anyway. You said that
And
plenty of times to a few other people.
let me tell you, I've known Pepper 10 years, and let me tell you, that woman has got a lot of scrutiny over that book.
Oh, yeah. And she's found but her real life experience is her experience, you know?
Yeah,
And she even had to buy something at the store to keep the receipt to remember it,
yeah.
you know?
And what was odd was when she walked out in the parking lot and found that coin.
Found the coin, yeah.
Yeah, she walked out in the
2
parking
pennies,
lot.
actually.
Yeah, she found 2 pennies. One of them was dated 1935, and the other one I think she said was dated 77.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And
Okay,
I just
so,
and I just told everybody in the comments,
uh,
keep her in their prayers because she just come home from the hospital. She wasn't doing too good.
yes, Wednesday, I think, someone said she just got home.
Yeah.
All right, so Rita says that God is good. All right, I think that's where we left off. I'm going to actually just bring this down here. All right. And glad all the prayers helped him. Yes. Thank you all for praying for Jim. He continue to pray for him to heal from cancer so he no longer has any cancer in Jesus' name. That would be awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. God bless. Texas State role play. Okay. What is Jesse Elvis doing now? Okay. I don't know. Watching TV.
Sitting in his wheelchair, playing the piano or watching TV or something like that, because he told Linda that he wasn't he couldn't walk much anymore because of that neuropathy in his legs and feet. He'd have to depend on a wheelchair.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard from somebody that I had a contact with that has talked to him too. Said that he's not totally bound to a wheelchair, but he's in it quite often because he gets up, he gets tired, he sits down. So it's like kind of one of
I
those.
tell you what, I sit around here and think about old Cuz being 90 years old, and I think about all he's endured throughout his life. It's amazing the man's still with us at this age. I told him not long ago. He told me, I don't know why I'm still here. He says, I've been here. He said, I'm tired of this place. He said, I don't know why I'm still here. I said, I know why you're still here. He said, why? I said, because what you did for humanity on this planet, the generous heart you had, the way you treated your fellow man, the way you loved everybody. I said, he blessed you with a long life.
Yeah, and Jim, you're very welcome for your for the prayers. And Rhonda's gonna pray for you some more. And Francis says you're welcome. I know you probably read all these.
Yeah.
All the prayers helped.
We had a
Yes.
we had a smart ass in the group too talking about that tape. Well, I put his butt straight. Hopefully he got the hell out of here.
We'll figure it out. Prayers for you, Jim. All right. You're welcome. Now, there's definitely no denying in my ear that is Elvis Presley talking on the phone back in 1980, 81, somewhere in there, maybe 82. It's somewhere in that area. He gives out more clues in the next half, the other half. So So I already answered that. 1981, roughly. That's okay. No problem. Hi, Susan. Hi, Joy. Hi, everyone. I just joined the live chat. I watch it from the start later. Hi, Jim. Yes. Okay. You're welcome, Diana. I agree, Susan. I agree. The colonel would let him what? I know they wouldn't let him go worldwide because the colonel was not able to get a passport.
Oh.
So there would be no way that he was going to be able to travel, that and an illegal immigrant. So that's why he never let Elvis travel. But he came up with a neat idea, though. That satellite concert was very, very neat. So the world could still see Elvis live. Because Parker was a Dutchman without a passport. Exactly. We covered that quite a few times. Me too, Susan. Okay. With the stutter and the southern drawl, it's definitely Elvis. Yes, and the way he says time, the way he says find, the way he says, like he extends that A, the when he talks, like that southern drawl. How about when he says much? Like it,
Or like,
oh, that little punch when he says
or like,
much,
or
huh?
like when he told that woman, he said, "Honey, don't cry." The way he said that, "honey," too.
Yeah. And how about when he said shock? When he said shocked, it sounded like shot. You remember when he said President Reagan has been shot? It sounds
Yep.
almost exactly like that, the way he pronounced that. Oh, and the way he says that word. So
Yep.
it's a lot. To me, it's Elvis all the way. All right. It's Elvis like, but the voice is not Elvis. It sounds like him in parts, but there are parts of that where it shows that it wasn't. It's not Elvis talking. Doesn't match up. I don't know. I think it's I think it's Elvis all the way talking.
It's Elvis. He's just
Yeah,
a shit disturber. That's all there is to it. We got
and
the
I think
knucklehead.
I mean obviously we need to just remember that he's talking, and it's actually a little. He's talking kind of laid back too, because he's on the phone talking like a normal average person talking. He's not talking like he's interviewing. It's definitely not Jimmy Ellis' voice, because Jimmy Ellis has got a faster voice. He talks faster. The stutter is reminiscent of Elvis Presley. He does repeat some words. He does have a stutter. So it's consistent. The word time is pretty consistent, and other words. And the way he has that little punch sometimes when he says much. Um, the other word that comes out really clear for me when he talks about, when he says romance in songs, he says romance a certain way. He says Memphis a certain way, guitar a certain way. Those words, it just reminiscent of him.
Yep.
And he was in a lot of movies, so people can know his voice. You know, Elvis probably held back and didn't give the full Elvis performance. Like I said, he's laid back, he's relaxed, and he's talking to someone he knows.
Yep.
I mean, I
Yeah.
might talk different. I might talk
And,
different after the show. I might talk different to somebody else. If I'm really laid back, I might be.
and he didn't know he was being recorded because if he didn't know he was being recorded. If he was being recorded, he wouldn't have been on that call. I'll guarantee you that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He didn't know he was being recorded. Yes, he is. Yes, he definitely was mentioning Lisa Marie. All like she means more to me than anything, and hopefully, he said fate will be good to us, and I can still see her again. Because obviously, he was apart from her for a while. You know,
Yep.
And he couldn't see her because of many reasons. It's this. And then Priscilla. He was talking about Priscilla and the other parts, yes. Especially when he said that she wants to have her own life and he's happy that she's just, you know, he's happy to see her happy, in other words, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense about her. All right, anyway, just joined. Hello, Jim, and hi, Bren. Whatever you missed, we can always watch back on playback. All right. The last one sounds even less like Elvis. Come on, how can anyone believe this is Elvis? That sounds a lot like Elvis, and I think the tape quality is bad. I mean, that tape is old, 1988. I bought it last year, put it in my tape deck, and it's all staticky and everything, but it's his voice. There's no denying that. Do I think, is Gary James interviewing Gail? Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the voices, but it sounds like to me like somebody, you know.
That's what it sounded like. Sounded like Gary James.
Gary James, okay. I wasn't sure because it doesn't say on the Elvis tape who the interview he is, or the interviewer is, because he's interviewing Gail, or you know. Without doubt, Elvis's voice, definitely. The context sounds true to me. All right. I agree, Chanel. Chanel. Yeah, I agree with you too.
Yeah.
It could be someone else reading his words, but the words sound true. Okay. Thank you, Joy. I love your
Right.
sight. Okay. It's kind of why they're looking at that. Like, what is she trying to write? Well, thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jim. Definitely Elvis. Isn't that Pepper? Nope, that's a different young lady. Pepper's was a little different. She described it as like she saw him there and he was a little older. He was kind of like reaching up for a can, trying to I think he was trying to sense her reaction. And she said that he didn't have blue eyes, that he had brown eyes because she originally had a poster and his eyes are darker in color because of the lighting. And then she ended up hugging him and crying as she was giving she was like squeezing his love handle, she said, and everything. And she was very embarrassed. Yeah, it's a little bit different because he said, "Don't cry, darling," to her instead of "Don't cry, honey," or "Honey, don't cry." Very similar, but a very similar. Even I think it was the same grocery store. I think it was a Safeway on both.
Yeah.
Must have been to a Safeway. So.
Well, he met a lot of people. He met a lot of people in the grocery store. That's why I
Right.
ran into him in the grocery store in Litchfield Park, Arizona, and he was living there at that time. And he mentioned that. He mentioned living there in his book that him and Dr. Hinton wrote.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Pepper was a lucky lady. Yeah. She said after she got done crying, she was so embarrassed because his shirt or jacket or whatever that he was wearing was full of her tears and it was soaking wet. And the girlfriend he had at the time came into the store after, and she's like, "Do you have the jalapenos?" And he's soaking wet, and she was so embarrassed. But there's other parts of her story, so I didn't cover all of her story. Maybe I will do her book someday. I do have permission to read her book on here, so I can do that.
Yep.
I agree with Francis Dixon. Diana, yes, that's Pepper he's speaking about. Well, I think it's a different girl. This was earlier. There was a couple experiences we had very
Yeah,
similar experiences.
I hadn't thought about that. It takes 81, so couldn't have been Pepper.
Yeah. And I think it was like when they did the Elvis files, they were talking about that particular girl. The TV show. Um yeah, she was actually on there and she explained everything. I don't know what her name was, but it
I've
was a
al-
different girl.
I've often wondered if old Bill Bixby knew Elvis was still alive. You know, him and Elvis were good friends. They played in that movie together years back.
Probably. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, keep Pepper in your prayers. She is 6 months older than Elvis and has been dealing with health issues. And she just got out of the nursing home or rehab. I can't remember what she was sick with. Do you remember, Jim?
It started having a problem with her blood pressure, and she was passing out and all that
Oh,
stuff, falling around. And Joyce is the one that called the ambulance for her. She got mad at Joyce because Joyce sent the ambulance to her house. Joyce lives in Nashville. She sent back. They took her to the hospital. They admitted her and kept her a couple weeks. Then they sent her to the rehab place. She didn't want to go there. I told her, I said, "Di, just go on. Don't fight them." I said, "You did this before. She's been there a couple times before. They didn't think she was going to go home." And old Pepper, less than a week, she was back on her feet. Out the door she went. That's what she did this time, too.
right. Okay. Hi, Karen. How are you? That's okay. You can always watch the recording. I always tell people that. All right.
Yeah,
Prayers for Pepper. Yes.
I told her the other day, Joey, when I was talking to Pepper, I told her, I said, "You got to get out of there." I said, "Remember what you've been telling me for 10 years? Elvis follows you into the world. You're going to follow him out." So he's telling me, "I'm going to live to be 102.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. All right. And Pepper is part of our Facebook group, but she's not on that often because she's been so sick, so she hasn't been on. But she is part of the Facebook group. Get well, Pepper. Let's see. We'll watch from the beginning later, and I'll keep Pepper in my prayers. Yes, definitely. Just finished Pepper's book, and I loved it. Awesome. Yes, she has a great book. I loved it too. And she does a great job summarizing the truth about Elvis Aaron Presley in his own words as well, which helps because that book is so hard to get. Someone asked me where they could get one, and I'm like, if you're lucky, you can find one at a reasonable rate. Reasonable
You buy
price?
that.
Go ahead. Huh?
You buy that book, you better have some deep pockets. That book's got ridiculous. Hell, when I bought my copy, I paid $19 for it. It's a brand new copy, still sealed in plastic.
See, I got my copy like 2 years ago. I think, well, a year ago, year and a half ago. When I first opened my Facebook group, I bought the book. I found a copy, and it went for $134 when I got it. It was missing pages. So my friend Beata, she gave me photocopies of the pages so I'd have the full book. So I
Yeah.
could read it online because I was reading it online and I didn't have the ending. So I was
That's
very
like
happy when I got the ending.
that's like that book I bought. I read the book. As soon as I read it, I turned around and give it to one of my friends. Didn't even charge for it. Just give it to him. I thought to myself not long ago. I thought, well, you give the book away, acting like you're Elvis Presley, so don't complain about it.
Hmm. Yeah. And I don't know what happened to my book. I think it's buried somewhere here. What I did was I made a video of all the pages and read it out loud. Somehow I put it aside, and now I'm missing pages and I'm missing the book itself. It must have fallen somewhere. I'll find it
Yeah.
eventually. But yeah, at
Because
least I have it all on video.
I'll tell you right now, if I had that book now, I'd sell it. I don't care. I'd sell it. Elvis
Yeah.
didn't give me that. Now, my photo he give me, that he autographed all that. That'll never leave. That'll always
The
be in
young
my
lady he
collection.
was saying he was with, maybe it was Maria. I have no idea. He just said young lady, and it was someone he met after 1977. And she stayed with him for a long time. So I don't know. He never really says. I believe it's him in the tape. Yeah, me too. I think so. Jesus' name, and we'll pray for return to health. Oh, and there was one other thing I wanted to pinpoint out. He says, it would be foolish of me. And then that really didn't go over that. It would be very foolish of me to walk back into a lifestyle that I just escaped from. And, I think that he kind of said the same thing to Linda in the letter. He said, it would be really silly of me to go back to that lifestyle after being gone for those many years. He doesn't want anything to do with that lifestyle. Basically, the image, he said, hurt him more than helped him. It's hard to live up to that image, He was sick. He was pretty sick. Yeah, there was two women that came out with the story about the supermarket. Pepper was 1988. This woman was before 1981. I think it was actually, I think on Elvis Files, the TV program, it was like 1980, I think. She met him in the supermarket. I think in Ohio. I think, if I remember correctly. The tape sure sounded like Elvis. Yes. And those of you that joined later, it said that she had the tape voice printed by I think he was in law enforcement, but he did voice analysis for, can't remember what it was now. What did she say it was? Anyway, somebody, what was it that what was he, the guy that was doing the voice analysis for the tape? What he was,
What he was.
he did another, high profile case of
Yeah,
some.
he was an investigator detective for Houston Police Department.
Yeah. And he did a famous case, something to do another type of famous case. Anyway, he did it and with multiple recordings of Elvis throughout his
Yep.
whole life. He compared it with that and said it was pretty close to Elvis. All right. And it was a tape that wasn't done all in one sitting. It was multiple recordings of the conversations. And the person that did the recording erased their questioning. So they wouldn't get in trouble with him probably. Or with EPE or whoever they get in trouble with.
I know the case that guy worked beside that case. It was the Watergate case.
That's what it was, Watergate. Yes, thank you. My brain, it was not functioning. I'm like, what was that case again? Yeah. I have a bad memory, so. Amen, Jim. Yeah, yes, that is why Jesse is still here, keeping him, you and in my prayers. Cool. Yeah. And I think he probably still here because God's not done with his mission yet. He's still got a little ways to go.
He's still, like I told you the other day, he's still here. I got that voicemail from him Christmas Eve. And
I mean, look how long Jimmy Carter lived to 100. Even what was it? Like Betty White lived to almost 100. You have Billy Graham who almost lived to 100. So I mean, there's some very famous. I think was it Dick Van Dyke still living, and he's almost 100. So yeah, it's a lot of famous people that are old.
I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know it, but Dick Van Dyke's house burnt down after them fires. They said I was reading about it today. They said he was out there with a water hose trying to put the fire out, and he's old. He got excited. He got himself worked up and out of breath, and he collapsed on the ground. Some of his neighbors carried him away from the house.
Yeah. Yeah, he's what, almost 100 years old. He's
Yep.
pretty old. So why is he in a wheelchair a lot? I missed that part. Okay, so a couple months ago, he had told Linda that he has to go into a wheelchair quite often because he has neuropathy on his legs, nerve pain, and back pain, and he gets weak and he has to sit down in the wheelchair.
Yep.
So that's why. He's old. He's like 90. But he's got neuropathy really bad in his legs, his feet, and
He's got arthritis real bad too.
really bad arthritis and really bad back pain. And I think like last month when he called her, I don't know if he's called her yet lately. His back was killing him, he said.
Yeah,
So
he told me a couple of years ago. He said my arthritis is bad. He said I can't pick a guitar no more. He said it kills my hands. He said I still try sometimes, but he said most of the time he said I'll get on that piano. He said I can play that like nobody's business.
yeah, but you can't play the guitar because of the chords and the way the fingering. Yeah. So he's dealing with a lot of health issues. He's not the healthiest dude either. I mean, I think I have a video on his health. If anyone's interested in knowing that, I have a video that I did about his health. I covered as much as I could from Linda's site about his health. So anyone
Yeah.
who's interested in that,
He also told me, he said I really enjoy martial arts. He said, but I can't even start in to do anything that I used to do. He said, so I don't even try anymore.
I think the only thing he probably can do now is yoga.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I'll tell you something he can still do. He'll always be able to do that. He can flat sing. I'll give him that.
Well, yeah. Well, sing and play the piano is good for his arthritis, playing the
And I'll,
piano.
and I'll tell you something.
Swimming
Yeah,
maybe is good for his joints too.
when he had that stroke a while back, that worried
Yeah.
me before I found anything out because I thought, boy, that'd kill him if he can't sing. If it messes with his voice, that's really gonna mess him up.
Yeah.
But hell,
Yeah.
Elvis, he's like I told Pepper the other day when I talked to her. I said, you know, Elvis is like a couple old Timex watches. Take a ticking and keep on, or take a licking and keep on ticking.
Yeah. So he stopped dyeing his hair. That will throw people off. Yes. In the picture of Jesse Elvis, his hair is completely white. Actually,
Yeah.
because it's done outside in the sun, it got yellow. It was like a yellow tinge on top of it. So
I'm not exaggerating. No Elvis' hair so white anymore, and if he's got that beard, he'll have a beard sometimes about like mine, and it's snow white. You put a red suit on him, and he can be ringing the bell at the Walmart for Salvation Army.
the Santa Claus. uh, Tell Jesse Elvis I said hi when you talk to him, Jim. Okay.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, that concert was amazing. And the way he says fantastic. Yes. Yeah. Romance, fantastic. Oh, time, fine, hide. Oh yeah, all those words reminiscent. And then that little like oomph in some of them, like much, and a couple other ones. Praying for you, Jim. Susan is. I kind of think it sounded like Bill Bixby. Oh, you mean the interviewer? That's what I thought, but then they're saying it's Gary. I mean, it could have been. I was thinking of Wink, what's his name?
Martindale.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that. I couldn't think of his name at the time, but I'm wrong. That's all. Anyway. After listening, I'm convinced it's Elvis. Will you play more of the tape next week? I am going to play side 2 of the tape next week. I am. We're going to continue it. In the book here, she has what they call a transcription here. So I read along with the tape. And some of it does get a little muffled, like from the tape quality, and voice kind of sometimes goes in and out, or it gets a little rough.
Yeah,
And those
I
places
know.
I'll read from here.
I know a while ago when you was playing that tape, it kept cutting down, getting real low volume. I was over here unplugging my earphones, thinking my earphones was messing with
Yeah. I don't know, the volume was cutting in and out. Like I said, it's a old tape that never was played in, a
me.
bad
Let
condition.
let me look. I've got a book with a brand new tape in it, still wrapped in plastic. When I find that book, I'll play that tape and it's clear in yours. I'll just send it to you.
Right. I mean, mine was right. I took it right out of the plastic, put it in my my tape deck, and I recorded it on an on a memory stick, and put it in
Yeah,
a computer, made MP3 out of it. So it's from that tape. I mean, I don't know if any of the other tapes are clearer, but I
I'll
think
see if
Richard
mine get.
Carson might have Knights of the King's Realm might have a clearer recording of that tape. I mean, you
Let
guys
me
could check
check.
it out, but
Let me check my tape, or I won't even check it. I'll just get when I find it. I'll just mail send it to you.
I think Knights of the King's Realm, Richard Carson has one that's probably pretty clear.
Well,
I know he's got the
there's some clear ones on YouTube of that.
yeah. I mean, mine's pretty clear too, but I mean, it's just because of the way it's taped, it's just kind of fuzzy, and the sound goes in and out. And it's just the badness of the age of the tape or whatever. Who knows where that tape was? Could be outside someone's garage for years. Who knows? We don't know. Hey, there wasn't proven this book was fake and the Elvis impersonator was the voice. No, actually, the book is not fake at all.
Oh,
And Gail spent hours, hours, and hours of research, talking to people. She has signed affidavits, voice print analysis of that tape.
I'll
Her
tell
own
you what.
personal experience with a phone call from Orion, the singer. Um, yeah.
That's like
And
on
then
that. That's like
people with Elvis
that's,
sightings, and they're telling them stories. Even my friend Jim here, I'm talking to Blizzard 19. Even my friend Jim here has met Elvis after 1977 in
yeah,
a store. What year was that? 81?
yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think so. I don't think that was Elvis impersonator's voice. And I don't
It
know why
wasn't.
they would do that anyway.
And I'll tell you
I
something
mean,
else. Most of them shows that Gail went on, especially that Geraldo show, they tried to make her look like an idiot. Tried to totally discredit her and make her out to be a liar.
mm. And that's the problem. And that's the problem is that, instead of like approaching things with an open mind, they would much rather just listen to what media has to say instead of actually reading the book itself. It's
Look,
like with any
look,
other kind of book that's written by Elvis.
look, look the way they treated her and old Major on that Geraldo show when old Joe Esposito was on there. Boy, they treated him like shit.
Yeah, well, I think that, I think I'm going to say, as far as I know, Linda and Jesse both have a bad opinion of Geraldo Rivera. So
I don't have much.
let's just say that. They do not like him at
I,
all.
I don't
So,
have much of an opinion either.
and that guy that they had, David Darlock, that get on there and said he was Civil Nora and tried to imitate the tape, he did not do it right. The
That's like
actual speed of the speed of the talking wasn't even the same, and the accent wasn't even the same. The
Well,
voice was being
it's just like,
saying.
it's like an audio thing I sent you. I've been talking to that one girl here a few years back, and he's talking about that, and she was asking about it, and he says, well, at one time they said it was a masked man. He said, we don't know who this masked man is. He said, I know his voice like the back of my hand. He said, it wasn't him. He said, it sure hell wasn't that crackpot they put on that TV show. He said, he told her, I'll just what? He said, you tape, listen to my voice, and you make your own decision. He said, I ain't claiming nothing.
Yeah. Well, no one knows about that recording because it's not allowed online. But anyway,
I
yeah.
know.
Diana.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I already got my ass scolded because I put it on my YouTube channel and didn't make it private. Somebody
mhm.
brought it to his attention, and very long I got a phone call to take it down.
Yeah. So, all right. George Klein. I don't know. Okay. I'd love to hear lives from Pepper Ritter's book. Well, okay. You know what I'll do? On the community tab and on the group, I will put out a thing, and you guys can vote on the next book. I was gonna do the Elvis files since we are still dealing with Gail Brewer Giorgio, but if you want me to do a break for a while, I can switch to Pepper Ritter's book instead. You guys let me know. I'll put it in the community and on the Facebook thing. But I think the Facebook audience is a little bit different than the YouTube audience. And you guys liked something different. So we'll just whoever's got the most votes will go on YouTube. Will be on YouTube, and I'm still doing the other stuff on the other one. So anyway, he probably couldn't see Linda, especially if he was in witness protection. Oh, Lisa. Yeah, and I think also, yeah, most likely he was not really completely with her through her whole childhood. And obviously, he knows about her book, and imagine the shock he got when he read her book during the time periods when he wasn't able to talk to her or be with her or do anything,
Yeah.
so
You
I
know, we,
think he said he was in witness protection and then he got out because he left witness protection because he found out he would not be able to talk to her, talk to his family, talk to his associates, talk to his friends. And so he decided to do a different type of protection.
I want to tell you something, Joy. You had to add me back right here. We got to talking about that audio where I was talking about what he told that girl about that tape, and just as soon as I got done talking, I got cut off here and had to go all through that crap to get back on. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign to shut up. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't plan, like I said, I don't plan to share that thing
Oh no,
because
I know
they do
that.
not put it online, so I'm not. All right.
No, I
So
understand.
we will wait until he officially passes before we actually put that on. How's that?
Yeah.
And let's hope it's never any time too soon. Right. I'd like
But
to see
yeah,
him for a lot longer. Yes, the
do
voice on the
Pepper's
tape
book.
is Elvis. Huh?
Do, do Pepper's book. That just tickled her to death.
Sure. Who is the girlfriend he is with? We don't know. He doesn't say who it is. He just said his girlfriend at the time, so we don't know.
Yeah.
But he liked girls. So I don't know who it could be. We don't know anything about his private life after 1977. He mentioned a long-time girlfriend on around 2011 tape. Yes. Yeah, and he said it was a girlfriend in the bureau, so it could have been that lady. It could have been somebody else that he had met. on his travels. Because he said, imagine her shock when she first saw him and realized who he was, you know? So,
But you talking about
yeah,
him not, you talking about him not talking about his life. Well, I'm family, and I don't know everything about him. That's what Brian and them all told you. Yeah, he knows who I am. And he knows I'm family, but I don't know everything.
yeah. Got my Amazon Canada and paid $53.99. My Elvis Alive book was $75.99 and said had tape but came without it. Oh, that's sad. I'm so sorry to hear that. Wow. Now, you're talking about your truth about Elvis Aaron Presley in his own words at $53.99. You got a great deal on that. That's what it was. $2.49 for yours. Okay. Yeah. When you hear taped conversation with Anita Wood.
Man, he talked about compare that to that tape Gail was playing there because Elvis was laid back, and that tape with Anita too. It sounds a lot like.
Yeah, he says fantastic. Definitely him. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Yeah. And there's other words that he says that are very consistent with other recordings that he's done, even like his talking voice, you know.
Yeah, and if he's doing a talking to somebody like that, and he starts laughing. There's no mistaking him because ain't nobody can laugh like Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I know that little giggle. Oh, well, that's what everybody else says, but I hate to tell you this, but she had that voice printed and it was really him. No, they just had, and also about just letting you know about this tape. When she received this tape, it was in front of a bunch of witnesses, and the two people that gave her the tape, one was related um to the family. They didn't admit that it was them that taped them, but she had witnesses that gave her the tape, and they told her to get the tape voice printed. Um, so there must be some truth to it somewhere. Oh, Dick Van Dyke, yes. Let's keep that whole situation in prayer in California. I'm praying every day for them. Even Deborah Presley Brando is living in that area as well. And she lived in the Palisades. I guess they call it the Palisades for X amount of years, a long, long, long time. And now she's living somewhere in a valley somewhere else, but she's ready, packed up and ready to move if she has to move. So keep everybody over there in prayer. And I think Riley has a house there. I know Priscilla has a house in that area. Yeah, just keep everybody in prayer, not just Priscilla and them, but all the stars, all the people there. You know, it's very difficult. I was wondering if you heard of Larry Hogan and watched his videos. Yes, I have heard of Larry Hogan. Larry sings Elvis songs and can pass for a 90-year-old Elvis Presley. Oh my. He is no comparison to Elvis Presley. He has a nice voice though. I told him that. Um and he told me to stop digging up bones. And I said, "Oh, all right. Well, he's doesn't if he comments on this channel, I don't see it. So I'm just letting you know, I kind of had to block him I think, from the channel. But yeah, his videos. He does a nice job, but he's not Elvis sing. His voice is not the same as Elvis Presley. All right. No, nobody is very close to Elvis except for a couple people. I mean, my favorite Elvis impersonator is, and I think Jim has his favorite as well. My favorite is Dean Z. I love that guy.
Dean's good.
Huh?
Dean's good. He's good. I said Dean's good. He's a good guy. I know
And
him. I
Bill
met him.
Cherry, I think you said was good. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Cherry's another one good. And
Yeah.
Cody Ray Slaughter. Oh, Cody Ray Slaughter does an awesome young Elvis. But
Yeah.
most people don't understand. Most people don't realize this. Cody Ray Slaughter is related to Elvis.
Oh yeah. Then the other, I'm gonna say, other Elvis soundalikes that sound like him, that are like Elvis soundalikes, I'm gonna say very close. If you want to check it out, John J. B. Burroughs was very good at an older Elvis voice. So is online. I'm talking about on YouTube here. And another one that's really good at it is John Cotner. Those two are very good at it. And there might be some other Elvis soundalikes as well. There are some Elvis soundalikes. They have, was it continuing? I think that, I'm not sure what channel that is. Continuing?
You talking about Ron Jesse? Yeah, King Kenyon.
Ron
That's
Jesse.
Ron.
They have a
Yeah, he's
nice,
good.
they are nice tribute artists, soundalikes. Yeah. And Larry Hogan's good too. He's not just like Elvis, but he does a good job with singing his songs and covering his songs. I told him he had a nice voice. You know. Anyway, can Jim let us hear the voicemail? Unfortunately
No,
not. Unfortunately not. It's a private thing.
no, I don't share nothing personal from him. Uh, that that would end our relationship if I did something like that. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna do that. He knows that.
He probably can still sing still. Oh yeah. Yeah, he still sings. Actually, there was a story on LindaHoodSingman'sTruth.com. I read it was around 2000. I think it was like 2018. Might be, it might be around there. The date, I'm not quite sure. Or it could have been 2022. One of those two. Anyway, she was saying that he had he was sitting at the piano and he had neighborhood kids come over, and I guess he was watching them, waiting for their parents to come home. He was babysitting or something, his neighborhood kids
You want
or
me to
something
tell it?
on that.
You
Yeah,
want me to tell it? Well,
yeah, can you tell me what?
yeah, well, where he was living at, his neighbor, a man lived next door. He had a little boy, 5 or 6 years old, and his mother had been, I guess, died or something. And when he get out of school in the afternoon, his dad didn't get home till like 45 minutes or an hour later. So Elvis would watch him every afternoon. Elvis said that kid come home from school one day. He said he come in the house there. He said he brought one of his little schoolmates with him. Elvis said I was sitting on the piano at Christmas time, and I remember him telling. I was singing Blue Christmas. He said when I got done, he said the little classmate was with. He called this kid Nicky, little Nicky next door. He said this kid was with little Nicky. He looked at me and said, maybe they call it Mr. Jesse. He looked at me and said, Mr. Jesse, anybody ever tell you sound like Elvis Presley? He got a big kick out of that. I thought, boy, if that kid only knew the truth,
Hmm,
he'd
yeah,
have a story to tell, wouldn't he?
yeah. So he does still sing, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he does it professionally, but he does sing at home. I heard he
He
does
won't.
have a little
He,
recording studio. So who knows?
yeah,
Maybe he's got some
he,
surprises for us before he passes
he,
away.
he got a nice recording studio at the house there, but I'm tell you something. He ain't gonna stop singing the day they close the lid in his face.
Yeah.
From what I hear, he don't want to be
You could
buried. He
do
wants to be cremated.
Tai Chi
He don't
or
want to be.
Qigong.
Yeah,
Why? Are they
but yeah,
easier on the joints? Uh, okay. Larry Hogan, his hair is white and he has a mustache and a beard. Ask Jim, please, to tell. Please, does he tell Elvis about these videos you do on the comments? Thank you.
he knows.
Ask Jim, please, does he tell Elvis about these videos you do and the comments? Yes. I'll be right there. I get okay. Um
Well, I don't give him. I don't tell him none of the comments, but he knows this. He knows we do videos. He's
he
aware
knows
of
these
that. I
videos
do know that.
because Linda had shared one of the videos with Jesse Elvis, so he knows about them. He doesn't I don't think he gets to see them, but he does share them. I mean, she did share one, and that was the encounters number 2 with me and Jim, and it had a picture of him, an autographed picture, and it had a nice letter about Linda and Tom on the back.
Yeah,
And she
yeah,
shared it
she
because
met.
it had her name on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's like I
that's
told you when that letter, when that picture came to me. I come in from Florida, and because Linda kept calling me, or not calling me, but messaging me, asking me about it. I said, I'm not home. I'm in Florida vacationing. She was worried about somebody getting it. Well, I get home, and it's in my P.O. box. So I opened it up. But before I opened it, I looked at it didn't have a name on the return address. It just had a return address, and it was in Prescott, Arizona. You can't
okay.
hear me?
Yeah,
Anyway,
I just didn't want you to reveal the. I didn't want you to reveal who it was.
I'm not, but it come from Prescott, Arizona, and it was somebody that's well acquainted with him.
Yeah.
Been acquainted with him for 50 years.
Well, Rita, you'll have to figure out. You'll have to find a way of getting your tape played. And good luck in finding a player. I had got a record player to get to play the records I bought, and it had a tape deck in it, and I could transpose it into MP3. So that's how I did mine. So Rhonda says she agrees with you, Jim. Joy, what happened to Gail? She's still living? As far as I know, she's still living. Um,
Bad
I know
health,
she's
though.
dealing with old age sickness, but she's still living. Geraldo Rivera, yeah, I can't stand him either. Yeah, he got really bad, and yes,
You know,
Geraldo is awful.
I, I've often wondered, Joy, because right after that Geraldo show about Elvis, and they had Gail and them all on there, and they was giving Gail and Colonel or Major all that bullshit on there, and the way they treated Gail. Well, just shortly after that, somebody called old Geraldo Rivera out and beat the shit out of him. He come on TV, his eyes was all black and swelled shut. He was all messed up. They beat him up pretty bad. I often wondered if somebody did beat his ass over that show.
I don't know. Elvis Files is good too, but also like to hear Pepper's book. Okay, well, I will definitely look into that. Yeah, I already added you on, Jim. Okay, see, I agree with Jim. All right. Excuse the spelling of Geraldo with another name for him was appropriate. Yeah, okay, no problem. Jim is a family member. He is in like cousin, like a distant, not distant cousin, third, fourth, second, third cousin,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
I, I'm a double cousin. My daddy was related to Vernon's side. My mother was related to Gladys' side.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Bridge for Jim and oh, it's Pepper Ritter's books, $53.99. Okay, all right. Well, see, I got mine on Apple Books, so mine's on like my iPad, and it's like it was like $9.99 for me. It was like ebook, so it wasn't bad. Yes, Kathy. Can't get Jesse's book. Yeah, that's hard to find. Kieran, it's only 88 pages, and I ended up returning mine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very short. That's why I put it on video form, because I figured that way everyone can watch it for free. So that's why. Yeah, I can't barely. Your sound's going in and out.
That book Pepper sent me. She sent me mine. I didn't buy mine. She sent mine, even autographed it for me.
Right. He says song a certain way. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Praying for California. My niece had to evacuate. Oh, okay. Yes, definitely. I would like you to I'd like to hear you read We Remember Elvis. You would like me to hear me read that? Oh man, I don't have permission to read it, but I can. It would be very hard to read, especially the interview parts. Very hard to read. Maybe I can do some excerpts out of it. I'll look into it for you. All right. I'm sorry to hear Larry was so rude to you. Maybe he's jealous. Laugh out loud. I don't know. He was just like, I don't know. He told me not to dig up old bones, and I'm like, I'm not. I was complimenting him. That was nice. I said he sounded nice and everything for a great Elvis cover, is what I said. But it was a great cover of an Elvis song. But he didn't like my answers or my compliments, so, and I wasn't being sarcastic or anything either. So
You want my opinion?
Ed,
Only reason he said don't before you get his DNA.
I didn't make that out. It came on all like choppy.
I said he said that to you about digging up bones because he don't want you to get his bones because you can check his DNA and find out he's a liar. He's not Elvis Presley.
Well, I don't think he's claiming to be Elvis Presley, but everybody thinks he is. I'm like, no, he doesn't even sound like Elvis Presley or even look like Elvis Presley.
That's about like he's clowns claiming Bob Joyce's Elvis. That man don't sound remotely like Elvis, in my opinion.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, like I said before, he's got a good voice, but he's a long shot from Elvis.
I've listened to them all, but Elvis is the best and always will be. Exactly. What book did you write? What book did who write?
Elvis.
Jesse's The Truth About Elvis Aaron Presley in His Own Words. You can find all 8 or 10 episodes here in the live streams. It's called the Truth Book episodes. If you all of those, and you cover the whole book, including pictures and everything. All right. That's cool. All right, one more. All the Elvis fans know Elvis the man is still alive, and the image is the only thing he put to rest. Exactly. Hi, Wanda. How are you? And Bill Cherry and Cody Slaughter. Did Bill retire, Jim? I don't know. Did he? Did Bill Cherry retire?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I have no clue.
All right. Well, I'm just going to give me a few minutes. I need to go tend to my dad real quick. So I'm going to get put on the song Back Home from the Spelling on the Stone album, and I'll be right back.
When I look behind me, I see where I want to go. Back home, back home. There's a cold wind blowing and it's cutting to the bone. 'Cause I know back home everything that I hold dear is waiting there for me back home. If I can find a way and a reason. Maybe then they'll see. Maybe somehow they will understand that the stranger in the mirror who is looking back at me is so alone, so alone. So I turn my collar to the wind that's filled with memories of back home, back home.
All right. I'll just finish this up and I'll get to the last comments in a minute. I guess we might as well finish it.
Everything that I hold dear is waiting there for
The way he says, thing, everything.
if I can.
He says home. It's reminiscent of the green grass of home. He needs to stay home on that song.
Maybe somehow they will understand that the stranger in the mirror who is looking back at me is so alone. I'm so alone. So I turn my collar to the wind that's filled with memories of back home, back home. When I look behind me, I see where I want to go, back home, back home, back home, back home.
Thank you very much for letting me tend to my dad real quick. He needed his socks taken off, so he's got those compression socks. They're hard to get off, so I want to think. Okay, so we have a couple more. That's a sad song, and yes, he was homesick when he sang it. I don't know if he wrote it, but it's a beautiful song. And the way he says home is reminiscent of green grass of home. And yeah, it's very close. Definitely Elvis there in my mind, in my ears. Thank you, Joy, for sharing this information. It's greatly appreciated. Well, you're very welcome, Colleen. I'm glad you're back here and asking questions, and it's a good thing to learn. We all learn. I learn something new every day, even though I know this stuff. I still learn.
Well,
Agree, Bob Joyce. I agree, Jim. Bob Joyce being Elvis is just ridiculous. Yes, exactly. Got to go. Good night, Joy and Jim. Prayers and blessings for both of you doing so much to keep the truth of Jesse Elvis out there. Well, you're very welcome. Bye. Good night, Karen. And Bob Joyce can sing a great pastor, but not close to E's voice with singing or talking. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, we love you, Jesse. My prayers are all with you all. Yes. Amen. Jim, very sad song, yes. And so we're going to end our live stream. It's actually almost 2 hours again. You guys have a great night. God bless you all. If you have watched this and are not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. When I get to 1,000, I'm going to do a special party. And we will see you next week with the second half of the Elvis tapes. And you can't wait till you see and hear what he reveals there. All right. Took night meds and I'm sleepy and I'm listening to you, and I'll say good night. Love you, the live tonight. Well, I'm glad you loved it, Rita. Have a good rest and we'll talk later on. And good night, Julianne. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody. God bless.
good night. Adios till I see y'all again.
Yeah.